Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who know me, hi. If you're just a new friend I haven't met yet, hi to you too. I'll just take a second or two to introduce myself. I'm Harold Campbell. I live here in Cedartown. I'm a Northwest Georgia native. Born in Rome. Started school in Dalton. From first to fifth grade. Then went to Fort Overthorpe, went to fifth grade through high school there. And started college. It was then fully junior college, majoring in journalism. My father got transferred to his company's headquarters in the Kansas suburbs of Kansas City, kind of like Gwinnett and Cobb County is to Atlanta. Got my journalism degree from the University of Kansas and worked as a newspaper reporter for 25 years. I've also been a lifelong history buff. My dad was a history buff, still is, he's still kicking. Was a big history lover. We went to Chickamauga a lot, Lookout Mountain, all the other historical sites around here. And he's the type of guy, not so much anymore, but if there was a historical marker along the highway that looked interesting, he'd pull over and we'd look at it. And that's something I inherited from him. So if you're riding with me, not with me, it's just something that looks interesting. No traffic, I'm going over and looking at it. What else? Oh, while I was in Kansas, I got in grad school in history at Wichita State University, got all the way through except for the thesis. My specialization was U.S. history from the Revolution and Civil War. Back up a little bit, back in grade school when all the other my classmates were reading Dick, Jane, and Sally. I was reading history books for kids. My wife used to say, "Did you read anything for fun?" I said, "I thought I was having fun." So I've just been a lifelong writer, researcher. I love research, history geek, everything. So when Dr. Sherry made that announcement about the workshop today, the first thing that came to my mind was the 1860 slave schedule. It's something that I'd heard about all my life, but I never really had to. I didn't look at it because I never had to use it. Until I was doing research for the book I just finished. I'll tell you about it a little bit. Where I just needed to know the number of slaves in Floyd County at the start of the Civil War. So I went to this time I was working in Georgia Highlands. I was also in history and writing tutor at Georgia Highlands for 7 years. And I had free ancestry, which I took advantage of, and found the Floyd County slave schedule, got their number of slaves, everything. While I was in the neighborhood, I just pulled up Polk County and saved it to my hard drive, thinking, well, maybe someday I might need it. And someday came a few weeks ago. I've been looking forward to this for 2 or 3 weeks now, because history is one thing I'm really passionate about. I could probably be up here all day. But anyway, where am I here? Let's see. I will just say I'll be glad to take questions or comments while I'm talking. I think there's supposed to be another Q&A at the end. And also, I don't have anything else planned for today, so if you have some questions after this is over, I'll be here until they lock the doors. I'm skipping a lot of this. I don't think there's too much time. My topics today all concern government documents and how they can help you in your family search. First, the 1860 Polk County slave schedule. And then at the end of my presentation, I want to tell you about a couple of federal agencies that the U.S. Congress and President Lincoln approved toward the end of the Civil War in 1865, both of which left records that might help you in your search. First of all, the slave schedule. When we hear the word schedule, we think of something like when or where something's going to happen. Like, who are the Bulldogs and Yellow Jackets going to play next week? What's Delta's flight schedule? Well, an older form of the word schedule means something that's like an appendix, an addition to an existing document. So this is exactly the 1860 and 1850 slave schedules were exactly that. In 1850 and 1860, the federal government wanted to do a count on how many slaves there are. So they counted in each of the southern states that became Confederacies. Georgia's one of them, by counting. And also what's called the border states, Delaware, Maryland, Kentucky, and Missouri, where they weren't going to be part of the Confederacy, they were slaves. In 1860, interestingly enough, they included the territory of Utah on the slave schedule because they had slaves that were both blacks and Native Americans until 1862, we said no more slaves and territories. So that's what we're talking about. Okay, just some information. In 1860, Polk County had a total population of 6,295. Of that total, 2,440, or 38.8%, were enslaved. Now, the total population for all of Georgia in 1860 was 1,057,286. Of that figure, 462,198, or 44%, were enslaved.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
And for us not to have records on them, that's like half of the population. So it's like one half of the population doesn't even exist.
Now, the Polk County slave schedule consists of 29 pages of names and figures written in 19th century cursive handwriting. You can find it on Ancestry.com if you really want to. It's really not that hard to read. It's just the guy who took it. His J's and G's look a lot alike. So you kind of have to decipher. Like, you have to allow it to get the name. What you get Jennings or whatever. There were just a few names I totally could not make it out. And there were a lot of initials and stuff, maybe partial names. The slaveholders' names are not alphabetical. It's not easy. Nothing's easy. In fact, I was going to congratulate you on this noble endeavor you're starting, but it's not easy. It's going to take time and work. But the names aren't alphabetized. And as we said before, you're not going to find your ancestor's name on 1866. Now, I did do some overall reading on the slave schedule nationwide. Occasionally, very occasionally, the census taker would include a name of somebody who's very old or something like that. There's not one name on the Polk County slave schedule. In fact, the oldest enslaved person I could find, well, first I'll tell you what's on there. It's arranged by militia district. The militia district was something the state of Georgia had. I think we still have it, dating back to the Revolutionary times, where according to a certain amount of people, 200 I think, who lived within a certain area where at least one person was qualified to be captain of the militia.
What landowner?
Yeah, of course, with cash. They had a militia district. I believe there were 6 militia districts in Polk County at this time. I tried to find out a map, but it changed doesn't really mean a lot today.
And you said, but that still exists, but the
Yeah, if you
militia.
go to the census in Polk in Georgia, there's still militias. It doesn't really mean anything.
We hope.
Back then, that, the militia, just a little aside, the militia and the slave patrols, which had a step ancestor who was a slave patrol. That became the nucleus of the Confederate Army. That's why the first couple of years of the war, the Confederates did pretty well. It's because the South had a ready militia, ready to go. Where the North, it took them a while to kind of get warmed up. Once they got warmed up, yeah, they got worked up. There's also lists by owner's name, the number of slave people, the genders, the ages, the skin color, what they call the complexion. Are you black? And you'll also see B for black, M for mulatto, what we call mixed race. There's also, if they were escaped, fugitive. I did see quite a few fugitives.
Harold, are you saying that the only way we have to get any kind of information is the schedule that the landowner had of the slave? Is that what the schedule, that term schedule refers to?
The schedule refers to the statistics
Okay.
of what, that's what I was saying. The schedule can also mean like an appendix or an addition with additional facts, because this was part of the 1860 federal census. Just an extra.
So that's the only way that we have at this time? Oh, okay.
When we get there in a few minutes, and hang tight. And some of it's already been mentioned, but I've made things easy for you. I don't know where it went, but I transcribed the Polk County slave schedule for you. I sent it to Dr. Shearing. I had one copy made. It disappeared.
Yeah, of course.
I do have a sign-up sheet. If you'd like a copy, for me to send you a copy by PDF Word, actually. There's a sheet I have over there to sign your name on.
Do you want me to start passing that around?
Yes.
I will be glad to send everything I did. I didn't write down all the ages. I do have like the name of the person, how many male, how many female. Oh, it also says how many slave houses were on the property. Because just like today, these rich slave owners were taxed. That's why they were doing this. The federal government and state government wanted money from the slave owners. Because your ancestors were getting taxed. Your ancestors.
You want an email address?
Well, I also made a copy of this. I just had Arlene one copy of the first page of the slave schedule, just so you can see what it looks like.
Now, how fast we gonna get? How fast we gonna get the copy?
I can't hear you. I'm
I
sorry.
said, how fast we gonna get the copy?
How fast are you gonna get the copy to them?
Oh, you've got the copy. Well, as soon as I get home. That'll be as soon as I can. Sorry. Let's set it later today. Well, tomorrow. Let's give myself a bar. Later this weekend. Is that,
I don't want to bother you now,
No,
Harold.
I'm more than thrilled. If anybody's interested in whatever I'm talking about, I'm in seventh heaven, especially if it's not history.
Can you do it in one mass text?
Yeah, that was my plan.
Okay.
I will do blind copies so you don't see everybody else's address. Yeah, I'll be more than happy as soon as I get your list. As soon as I get home, I'll turn my laptop on and get right on it, okay? This is
Good question.
some extra stuff. As we've been talking about before, you have to go back, work from backwards. Starting in 1870, if you know the name of your enslaver, you can find them on the 1870 census. Also, look for your ancestry. Then go back to the 1860 census and the slave schedule, and see if you can find them all there. Now, there will be ages listed the slaves they had in 1860. I'm not gonna, they're probably not carved in stone. The owners might have guessed, he was born, I think he was born 2 or 3 years ago, I don't know, I would say 3. So don't take that as gospel either. In fact, the oldest enslaved person I could find in Polk County in 1860 was a 94-year-old man enslaved by the Reverend W.M. Hutchins. Wow. You think about it, I did the math on this. Not that it would matter, but he was 10 years old when the Declaration of Independence was signed.
Wow.
He was still enslaved
At
here.
94.
And the last name, the enslaver's last name is Hutchins.
Hutchins.
With a G?
Yeah.
No, yeah. But
I
they changed it.
tried to find him
Yeah.
online myself.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. There's some other ways you can do census records. Wills. You have to, again, like Dr. Sherry said, you have to research the enslaved. For example, there's no slaves in my immediate family, but my great-great-grandfather, first wife, I'm related to the second wife. First wife who died came from a slaveholding family. And her father, I found a will from him, and he left these slaves for other people's family. You may have to look up information like that. You have to do some, in other words, you have to do 2 genealogies, one for your family and one for the enslavers. That's the only way you have to do it. Deed records, bills of sale, if you can find them. Just like you'd sell your car, your house today, you'd have to leave some record. It's the same thing for your ancestors. You would have to have some record somewhere, unless it's been burned or lost in the war. Tax records, plantation records. I don't know where it would be here, but especially in the southern part of the state or the coast where there were plantations for a lot longer, a lot bigger plantations. There'd be stuff like that. Also, family search. Since I did my copy, since I downloaded the Polk County Slave Schedule, Family Search now has it where you can look up the enslaver's name, familysearch.org, and it will bring up the slave schedule. So you get, if they have 25 slaves, 13 male, 12 female, something like that. Just FYI, the youngest slaves I found on the slave schedule here were 2 months old. And I was wondering, why would they keep the 2-month-old baby? I found the answer. It rolls down to cash. It's an investment.
Really?
Investment. That baby's just an infant now, but if they grow up to be a big man, I get big cash. People today don't realize slavery was a big business. Lots of, I'm about to tell you one example that is in Polk County. Where a lot of money changed hands because of your ancestors.
We know.
Isn't that the foundation of capitalism?
I'm gonna get to that in a little bit too. Thank you for bringing that up.
We waiting on our.
There's some other complications too I want you to be aware of. Is that everybody on that list that I'm going to send you didn't necessarily live in Polk County. There were a lot, not necessarily in Polk County, but around the south, there were a lot of what were called absentee owners. That was somebody who lived in one place and then owned property in other places as an investment. Now the uber super rich who live in places like Charleston or Savannah or New Orleans, they would own properties there and around. They had the cash, they could spend the summer up north, New York, Austin, Saratoga, wherever. And then come back in the fall or winter. Now, let me give you an example. An example is in our slave schedule, there was an I'll look this up. There's an H.S. Wimber, who the Polk County slave schedule says enslaved 40 persons here. I looked up the 1860 census for Polk County, couldn't find him. So I went to Family Search. Well, actually, I went to, if you want Ancestry for free, you go to the Lone Public Library. That's where I went. And I found H.S. Wimber, but he actually lived in Twiggs County, which is down between Macon and Genealogy in that part of the state. The big plantation where he owned, the 1860 census says his probably, he had 87 enslaved there. Who knows where else he might have been?
Right.
The Polk County was just an investment for him.
Wow.
Now, one thing I really appreciated about Dr. Sherry were the emails she sent us on Fridays. And the one this past Friday talked about traps. And one of the traps was not really knowing the context or the history of what was going on. And so I encourage you to study this and read about it. It's going to be unpleasant. It's not going to be pleasant reading, believe me.
Right.
Even as a white guy, it's not.
I sent it to my brother the other day. He's still fussing. He is still cursing, and he's a preacher. He's still cursing up a storm when he got that list.
Well, I say amen. But just off the top of your head, let's say that you discover that your great grandparent, grandfather, whoever, had an absentee owner. How do you think that would affect their life? How would it affect your life, do you think? Well, what I read, slavery was bad enough. You lived right there with the family. If you were living with an absentee owner, it was 10 times worse. Because they wanted, it's just like a stock investor today. You want to squeeze every penny out of that stock. It was the same 150, 175 years ago. They wanted to squeeze every penny out of these plantations. So they might have skimped on the food, they might have skimped on the clothing, everything. Because that was really money. Another thing is,
Okay. Go ahead.
another complication is sales. I did find one of the largest slave owners here in Polk County was a guy named Thomas H. Sparks. He had 90 slaves and 18 slave houses. He came here from Greene County, and he's over part of East Georgia. The regular 1860 census says his personal property value was $75,400, which includes the value of those enslaved. Now, and our $75,000 today is a lot of money, but that's $1,860. In today's money, that would be worth almost $3 million.
A little bit about that Sparks guy. If I'm not mistaken, he's out of the Rockmart area.
No, he was they said Cedar Valley.
Was it, oh, okay.
He said it's plantations in Cedar Valley.